Hi, everybody. So it is December 3rd. Countdown's begun. Christmas is around the corner. And we're going to make some cards today. What I'm using today is I'm using Country Craft Creations Christmas Cheer. And I've got 4 cards to show you, so I'm going to get them out. Hello, Miss Jennifer. And yeah, that's what we're going to make this afternoon. So I hope everybody is not going too crazy. I feel like I'm ready to explode. Just way too much to do and not enough time to do it in, but we're going to get it all done. Hello, Lynn. So if you haven't checked out Christmas Cheer, you need to. This is the 8x8. I'm not sure if there's any still at the store, but you could use the 12x12s and that would work just as nicely. What else do I want to tell you about the collection? It's awesome. It's beautiful. Like I say, it's totally Christmas and it's totally retro and I love it. So here are the cards we're going to be making. They're all A2 because you guys all know that's the card size that I love to make. Hello, Miss Tanya. They're all A2. They're all layered. I put some bling on some of them. Use seam binding on some of them. Cards should be easy to make, not frustrating. And that's where my whole idea behind all of these cards comes from. Keep it simple. If you want to jazz it up, everybody's got the stuff in their stash to do that, and a little seam binding and a little bit of bling. I believe some of this bling I actually got at the dollar store. So you don't have to go to a high-end store to find your bling. So I'm going to set them aside and we're going to work on them one at a time. For those of you, hello, is it D? I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. For those of you that haven't made cards with me, I'll just give you a quick rundown of the A2 size card. So after it's folded, it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So what you're going to do is you can use 12x12 paper, you can use 8 1/2 by 11. A2 card size is perfect for 8 1/2 by 11, but you can make the 12x12 work too. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. So the other thing I like to tell you is I always like to use a heavyweight cardstock. So Tammy has a 100-pound cardstock in the store. It is amazing for making card bases. And all you do is you're going to cut it to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. And you're going to score at 4 1/4 on the 8 1/2 inch side. And you're going to do that to all 4 of your cards. I did round my corners on the cards we're going to make right now. On the original cards, I left them square just because, well, I like variety. And I thought I'd show them to you both ways. So I'm just going to put my card bases sort of up here at the top. I'm going to pull this one out first. And hopefully I can keep this in some kind of an order. And only pull out the bag I need. So let's get our pieces. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this card first of all. So, of course, it's got layers. I didn't pop everything up. Hello, Miss Pamela, aka Froggy. I didn't pop up everything on these cards. So my matte layer is not popped. My 2 little strips that run underneath my image are not popped up. The only thing that is this image here. And we'll talk about that as we go along. I already pre-made the bows. No, I do not make a bow by scratch because my fingers just don't want to cooperate. I use one of these trusty dusty little things called a bow maker. And Tammy has had them in the store from time to time. So keep checking back. And if she can get more, I know she will have them in the store again. So we're going to do some measurements. Thank you, Pamela. I'm going to do some measurements to start with, or maybe as we go, we'll do the measurements. So I inked everything with a light gray because I didn't want to use brown. And I really like this light gray when I'm doing cards. So the matte the green mat. So in my original cards, I use black cardstock. You know what, Pam? This is my go-to because my fingers just don't make bows. I can make bows with one of these, and it's so compact. You can take it away when you want to go to a proper retreat. Just put it in a little Ziploc bag, and it's so flat, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. You can make triple bows. You can make single bows. You can make any kind of bows you want to make. All right, let's stay on track. So the green mat measures 5 1/4 by 4. And then my layering pattern paper, I did it a little different for these. I made them 1/8 of an inch smaller than my cardstock. So this measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then, so this particular piece comes out of, there's a sheet of little cut aparts in this collection, and this is one of them. And then I cut it down to make it fit for what I wanted it to be. So I have about 2 1/4, just a little less than 2 1/4, because I wanted to make sure my sides were somewhat even, by 4. So my mat is going to be not quite 2 3/4. What did I say here? Let me try this one more time. Like 2 5/8, okay, is where this is at. So my mat layer is 2 3/4 by 4 1/8. And then these little strips here. So the trick with these little strips is they are 3 1/2 by 1, but my little mat layer, it's 3 1/2 less a 16th. And I know you guys are going to say to me, less a 16th. I'll show you why. And they're 7/8 of an inch thick. So when I layer these two pieces together, what I want is I want it to be right over here at the raw edge. And you'll understand when I start putting it together. So I only want it one side of it to have the paper mat or the cardstock mat showing underneath. So I hope that makes sense. And as always, I like to glue all my pieces together, and then I like to start creating the card. Hello, Dina. How are you? So we're just going to put some art glitter glue on the back of these. And I'm going to turn it sideways so I can kind of see everything. Hopefully my head doesn't get in the shot. And the glue is nice because it gives you a couple of seconds to make sure you have everything where you need it. And I'm just going to get out my bone folder. There we go. There's one. Let's do our image. And again, we're adding. So sometimes I like a 1/4 inch around. I like to make my pattern paper 1/4 of an inch smaller than what I am creating, or than the card itself. Sometimes I use an 8. This kind of depends on how I'm feeling. And lately I've been liking. So what happens is my actual mat is a 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card. So you get to see enough of the card, but then my layering pieces are only 1/8 of an inch smaller. And hopefully you can't hear my husband with his chainsaw. Yes, he's still working on wood. Now, like I say, I did round some corners. So on these little strips, what I did is I only rounded the side that's going to stick out in the middle of the card. Because when we put this card together, this is going to go flush over to the edge of the pattern paper. So you just got to make sure that when you're rounding corners, you're keeping in mind which way the paper's going and which way you want the, which side you're going to round your corners on, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So does everybody have their Christmas tree up? We won't talk about this house because no, there's no tree up. Too crazy. Too much to do. And we don't have any grandbabies, so it's not that I don't do Christmas. I'd rather put my energy into the food we're going to eat. Hello, Lisa. All right. So this is where we're headed with this card. So I also often put score tape on the back of my cards, partly because I have a ton of it I need to get rid of since I don't use as much score tape when I'm creating albums anymore. And the second thing I like about using score tape on the back of the base of the card, if I really mess up, well, I can get it off without ripping everything. There you go. I keep saying I'm going to put it up, but it doesn't get any further than me saying it. I will put some bubbles on the Norfolk pine we have and call that good. If I had grandbabies, then I'd pull out a Christmas tree and all that stuff, but I don't. So this is what I do instead. I'd rather spend my time crafting than putting up a Christmas tree. So what I do usually is I kind of lay out where I want my two little borders to go. And once I've sort of got the idea that that's what I'm going to like, just kind of float this on top and go, yep, still looks good to me. Then I'm going to pick one up, add some liquid glue to the back of it. And most times I'm just sort of eyeballing what I'm doing. Like so. Gonna need my little phone folder. And then my other side. I keep saying one of these times we're going to do a class where I'm just going to have the sketch, because I think I've said this to you guys before. I go to Pinterest and I look at card sketches, and then I take that card sketch and I just start playing with paper to see if I'm going to like what I'm going to create. And that's just what I do. I can't tell you which card sketch I used because I only look at it and then I move on. So I suggest go to Pinterest, check out the card sketches, and just start playing with paper. It's a great way to use up scraps. It's reasonably inexpensive because you're just using up your scrap pieces of paper. Now, you guys are going to think this is silly, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this piece of foam tape something like that, because I want it to be stuck up in the middle too. And then you just want to make sure that everything's going to still look okay, and you're not going to see that foam tape. And yeah, I'm going to be happy with all of that. Then I'm going to take my backing and this one, and then I'm going to hover, checking top to bottom, side to side. And when I'm happy, I'm just going to lay it down. And there's our first card. All we need is our little, sorry for the arm going through the camera. And my go-to adhesive for this kind of thing, and everybody has their own thoughts on this, is this Nuvo Crystal Glaze that Tammy has had in the store. Not sure if there's any there right now. You could use some glossy accents. You could use art glitter glue. It just gets down to what do you want to use. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my little gems. Wasn't really going to do this, but I think I need to. And I have all kinds of them. I have big ones, I have little ones, I have various sizes, because I'm looking at my image here and I'm going, oh, I think I want some little gems in the middle of these little green starbursts that are on. Now you can put some art glitter glue on these first. I am not, because I'm figuring they're going to stick once I put my card aside. Give it a good press. And we'll just keep rolling. And like I say, you can stop anytime you want to. There's no requirement to put gems on your card. Some people don't pop anything up because they go, then it could cost a little bit more for postage. So that all is a personal choice. And there is our card one finished. You could put some little bit of Winkostella on it to fuss it up. You could actually put some of the Nuvo glaze on the glass, so the red mixture that's in this glass, and then it would have a little bit of shine happening to it. But if you're going to do that, do it, set it aside, don't touch it for 24 hours, because I find it takes that long for the glue to dry or the glaze to dry. It is. That's what I think cards need to be, Lynn. They need to be simple, because we're all got that fear. Oh, we can't make it just like the person made the card. We're not okay, right? Where this is just to give you an idea. And if you want to put more, go ahead, bling them up. But yeah, so there's card one finished. So we're going to set it aside. And we're going to set our design aside. Put these back because I'm not sure I'm going to use them again. But they're right behind me in a drawer, so that works. So card two is this one that has the lady and the Christmas tree on it. And I did put some bling on it. Again, the only part of this that I popped up was this actual cut apart that comes in the 8x8 pad. And everything else was just glued flat. So let me get out our pieces for this one. And make sure I'm getting out the right one. Yes, it's this one. So because I want my cards to be a little bit different, what I did is I went to the 8x8 paper pad, and there's a sheet of 8x8 that has Santa Claus on one side of the card with a big long list on it. And all I did is I cut him down to the size I wanted him. And then I layered him on a piece of, or he's going to be layered on a piece of green artisan. So I'll give you some measurements. Let's put the pin back in my glue so that when we want it, it's still going to be able. So I'll do the pattern, the matting paper first. So for the base that's going to go on the A2 card, it's 4 by 5 1/4. The pattern paper that's going to go on top of that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So that's going to go like that. Then this little image, its mat is 3 by 4. So this is going to make this little image 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And then our little band that's running behind, its pattern paper, its paper cardstock mat is 1 inch by 5 1/8. So that's going to make this 7/8 by 5 1/8, because again, if you notice on the original card, I ran it straight from the top to the bottom of the pattern paper that went on the black mat. But we're using green mats this time. So let's lay that up there. And we're going to set this one aside so I don't get myself mixed up. And let's glue everything together. So I'm thinking for my next Friday live, I think we need to do some Christmas tags, because we'll be getting to that point where we need some tags for our gifts. And I just got in the mail from Tammy. Let me put this on. I'm going to sidetrack for a second here, but you guys know that happens with me. I go shiny. See, that's why I made a really good preschool teacher, because I could get off topic. So just let me get this down, make sure that I've got any glue cleaned up. So next Friday, we are going to be using this tags and ticket die, because look at the size. I haven't even taken it out of the package. Look at the size of this tag. That'll make a great tag for a gift. So that's what I'm going to be working on during the course of the week, is this particular ticket and tag. I don't know what collection I'm using yet. I'm leaning towards one of the Echo Park collections that I have here in my stash. I ordered a couple of 6x6 paper pads from the Echo Park, but you could do it 12 by 12. You can do it with anything you've got. But we're going to make some tags. That's where we're headed next week. So that's your sneak peek. So remember, I inked all my edges with a gray. See, I was playing with the foil, and now I'm going to use it the other side of it. Never throw anything away. I think it's Sally that says that all the time. And you know what? She's right. I just keep different things. For me, it's pattern paper. I always go, oh, I could use that little piece of pattern paper. I could use it to make a flower. Okay, so there's one piece. And like I say, once I get my design in my head and I've sort of cut out all my pieces, that's when I go and start gluing my pieces together. And you know, I have gotten to this part where I've got everything glued together, and then I look at it and I go, no, not going to work for me. So remember, we're gluing right. The pattern paper is going on that piece of cardstock right to the top and bottom. So it's the very same length as your cardstock. Let's get another base in here. And again, I have put on my score tape. You could use the art glitter glue, most definitely. Like I say, I'm just trying to use up some of my score tape. I know people that when they're doing cards, they use the ATG gun. You know what, David? That's it. Hello, David. That's a really good idea. I do that too. Exactly, because we do. Anytime you're creating, especially with paper, you're going to have all these bits and bobs. And when I used to teach, it was construction paper. And you know what I'd do with my construction paper? I would take my construction paper and rip it up, or just put it on the table and let the kids rip it up. You know what, Lisa, you did not. You know what I'll do at the end? I'm going to put this bow maker up here. Remind me at the end, and I will make a bow with you with this cute little bow maker. That's how I make my bows. And I have no idea if that's the way you're supposed to make them, but it's just the way I make them. So again, we're going to put some art glitter glue on the back of the cardstock matting piece for this 1-inch strip. It's going to go something like that. So with the glue, you've got a second to, you can hold it up and go, okay, I'm going to be happy with that. And then, so again, I rounded the corners on my mat. I did not round the corners on my strip, but I did round the corners on this image. And I'm just going to put him like that, but he is going to get popped up. So we are going to take, and I am using the thicker, and this is some stuff I had in my stash. And again, I'm going, you need to use this up. Tammy does sell something similar to this in the store. So the reason I'm only putting little strips on this side is because, well, if I had them on the right side, so let's reverse them. Hopefully. And I'll tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. So because I want this mat to be over this strip, and I know I only going to have a little bit of an area, I kept them small. But on this other side, I'm going to probably cut them, well, I am going to cut them bigger. Like so. And this is going to go like this. And, you know, I think I'm going to push them up a little bit more than I did on my original card. I'm just kind of liking that right now. Or you could put them in the middle. I like that too. Oh, let's leave them in the middle. So I do a lot of talking as I create cards because I got to talk it out. And something like so. And there it goes. And then I made a little red bow, and I'm just going to put it. Sorry about that. I'm just going to put it. No, I like it down here, even though it's going to cover some of those names. But I do like it at the bottom. Put some adhesive on the back of it. And again, like I said before, whatever your adhesive of choice is. I also keep a couple of old paintbrushes that I do use to move away any glue, glaze that might get in the way if it kind of seeps out from underneath. And on this one, I'm thinking I need a gem. I need some gems. And I think I'm going to use clear ones again, but I'm just going to use some bigger ones. I know I want one in the middle of this bow. So let me just get out a gem that I think is going to fit the bill. Don't ask me where I got these gems from. Some of them I've had forever. This time I am going to put a little bit of glue. There we go. I'm going to put one there. Just move it a little bit. So And so this is sometimes where I have to play a little bit. Where do I want these other gems? I think we're going to have, well, I got a little bit of fuzzy on this one. I think I'm going to put them here. And one here. And maybe one like that. And there we go. So like I say, you don't need a lot of stuff. There's a little bit of bling on it. And there's card 2. Similar but different. I like them both. So we're going to set this one aside. That one's going up there so it can dry. And let's move on to our next card. So this is the next card we're going to work on. Those back in their home. And get the pieces out. I'll give you some measurements. Tell you what we used. So this comes from the cut apart sheet. Thanks, Lisa. So what I did is I just glued it onto a piece of cardstock, and then I fussy cut out around it. And you do have to fussy cut out this image, but you know, this Bristol paper is so smooth that it's like cutting, it's like butter. If you're afraid to fussy cut, try fussy cutting this paper. You'll take that fear away. So let's look at the original. So I have our base, and then I did pop up the mat that goes behind this mat, and I do have our Santa popped up here. So let's do some measurements. Remember, I rounded some of these corners. The mat, the cardstock mat, measures 4 by 5 1/4. So that makes our piece of pattern paper 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Our mat that's going to lay across the center of it, like so. So that would be this mat here. The green piece of cardstock measures 3 7/8 by 2 3/4, which makes our mat, because I have it going side to side, it also measures 3 7/8, but it measures 2 3/8. And then our image that's going to be in the center, the mat is 3 by 4, and the pattern paper is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And our little strip of paper, it's really easy. It's a 1/2 inch by 2 7/8. And this one here is like 3/8 by 2 7/8. So let's glue everything together. Starting with the biggest pieces. Did you guys see Tammy's live yesterday and see her Advent book? Not Advent book, December daily that she kind of showed you that she's going to start in January? It's awesome. It's actually beautiful paper. I think it's, I don't know, if Tanya was on here, she could tell me what the paper was. I can't remember now. I want to say Nostalgia, but I could be wrong. Hello, Miss Tiffany and Teresa and Chelsea and Lori. Oh, sorry, guys, over on YouTube. I lost track of where I was. Hi, Pam. Hi, Diane. No, Diane, I don't have a cutting guide for the cards. Got to take notes on these cards. Thanks, Kat, for the comment about the cards. And hello, Debbie. I think I got everybody now. Hello, Kathleen. I sometimes forget to check over on YouTube, and then my phone shuts down. And it's like, ah, get it back up. And I had looked a little while ago and there wasn't anybody, but I think my while ago was a while ago. So get some glue on the back of this. And remember that this pattern paper is going from side to side. It's only got 1/8 of an inch smaller from the top to the bottom. Because when we set this on here, we want it to be the width of the pattern paper that we're layering it on top of. Thanks, Diane. I try to give the measurements for the cards as I'm rolling along. Just gets too hard to make a cutting guide for them because it gets confusing sometimes. Okay, and then this is our piece for our band. So that's this piece here I'm working on. And remember, I rounded the corners. Did not round the corners on this one, though. I left them squared because I just thought, well, it's going side to side. I don't want rounded corners. Okay, and now this little piece. I'm glue on the back of it. And now the nice thing about this collection is all this paper go together. You can mix and match anything. Oh, and I need to talk about my bows because this is the seam binding. So I'm using the red and green seam binding that Tammy has over at Country Craft Creations. All right, so let's put this card together. Now for this card, I'm going to use a thinner tape for my popping up of things. Do it on both so I stay connected. And all we got to do is make sure that we got the right direction going. So we want to center it. Looking good. And I always find it's better to put the base on the card and then work at layering up your pieces, because if you try to make this card on the base and then adhere to the actual, if you try to layer everything on the base and then try to adhere the base to the card, you've got all these layers and it can be more difficult to get everything to go where you want it to go. So we're going to put some score tape, or not score tape, some foam on the back of this. You could use pieces of pattern papers. Another good use for your scraps. Use them to layer up your mats instead of using foam tape. I just never get to that. I always go, well, the foam tape's right there. And it's already sticky. And there, and I'm going to put one in the middle so it doesn't end up caving in on me, as I call it. So this is going to go someplace in the middle. So let's remove all of that. You should see the floor beside me. That's where everything gets dropped when I'm doing this. And then I go back and I clean it up later. Hello, Tanya. Oh, you're in both places. Yes, you are Santa's little helper. It's the Tammy's 2022 December daily is going to be Santa's little helper. Thank you. So something like that. Am I going to be happy? Sure, I'm going to be happy. We're going to make this work. It's a little lower than it is to the top, but it'll be fine. It's going to be just fine. Can I live with that? Yeah, you can live with that. All right, so now what we want to do is we're going to put, I'm only going to put the tape on the very top of this piece and on the very bottom of this piece. That's the only popping up I'm going to do on this. Because again, you don't want it to get too thick because, hello, Miss Lillian. Because if it gets too thick, it's going to probably cost you more to post it. But if you're taking it, if you're hand delivering it, then you can make it as thick as you want to make it. It's going to go something like this. Oh yeah, it's going to be fine. And boom, there we go. I really like this green and black and white plaid. I think it's a beautiful combination. Now you could have added some glue to the center of it if you wanted to, but I chose not to. And then we're just going to glue this down, this little strip. Like so. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball things a little bit. And again, it's only going side to side on the pattern paper. And then we're going to add a few little pop dots only down the middle of this, or foam tape, not pop dots. So I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces. And that's why I do like using the foam tape, because I can make my pieces the size I want. My fave. Okay, what did I say, Tiffany? Are you commenting to somebody else? So we're just going to center this again. This is where I pull my tweezers out. Something like that. And then we're going to get some more of my gems. And like I say, this time I'm using clear ones. On this one, I used some green ones. And again, it's what you have in your stash. Put a little bit of glue and glue. And I do like my picky tool for this. One's going there. And one's going on this side. Something like that. This is the nice thing about the art glitter glue. It does dry clear. And then I believe I want to add some of these small guys. I'm going to put one here. And one here. And then I'm going to come down here. One. And I'm just sort of randomly and then I've decided that I'm going to come back up here and put another one there. And I'm going to do the same down here in the bottom corner. Something like that. And there's card 3. They're the same, but they're different. And that's what I was trying to go for today, that they wouldn't look exactly. Yes, I love the green plaid. So there's card 3. So we're going to set that one up here, this one down here. And that means that this last card I have here in this little Ziploc bag will be the last card we're going to do today. Put my bling away. Can't believe I've kept up with that my space isn't getting smaller and smaller. So get my pieces out. Set the bag away. Bring the card in that we're going to be making. So we're going to be using this piece of red seam binding and the green mat. But for this card, we've got to do a little bit of prep work before we can put it on its base, because we want to wrap our red seam binding around this mat. Okay. So let's talk about our two pieces that are going to go on top of the mat. And I'll give you the measurements for them. This is going to go something like this. So this is a little bit different. All the other cards I showed you was full pattern paper, and this we're piecing. The tool, it's just a little pokey tool I've had for years, Kathleen. And when I am doing gems, I will often use the pokey tool. Hello, Julianne. Never late. Remember, it's always recorded. Yes, if I was still working, it would get in the way of my crafting, but I'm not. And I said to my husband today, I said, I'm going into my room and I'm not coming out today because I knew I was going to be doing this live. And tonight, Tanya and I will be hosting the December Zoom group at Country Craft Creations. So if you haven't heard about that, the Zoom group is you pay $10 for a monthly subscription to Country Craft Creations. And then about 3 times a month during the winter, as long as we're not away at anything, or 2 times a month in the summer, because, well, life gets in the way in the summer, we get together and we Zoom and craft. So it's like going to a crop, but you're in your own space. You get to see everybody else that's there, and we have a blast. So if you're interested in buying that Zoom pass, you'd have to go over to Country Craft Creations and go in and just search for Zoom pass. And right now it says that it's a November Zoom pass. I forgot to get in there today and change it to December, so that's my bad. But it will be changed as soon as I'm done this live. But I know if you purchase a Zoom pass today, it is for December. Yes, I do too. I love our Zoom time. So I'm just sort of laying my piece of red seam binding out. I'm going to cut it about 1/2 inch wider than my actual card base. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up my backing just for a bit, just till I get this all straightened out. So, and I'm kind of going to center this. So I'm just laying it down on that adhesive. Lay that one down. And then I'm going to come around and I'm going to go, that's a little too low for my liking. So do this again. Do this slightly different this time. I'm going to do it the way I normally do it, which isn't lay it down. I'm going to turn my card back over. I drop my seam binding. There's my seam binding. I'm going to just lay it out. Looks like it's centered. Once I get one side down, then the rest is easy. And now I'm pulling it. Turn this over so you can see. And I'm just laying it across my score tape that's there. And it's crooked. So again, this is why I do like using score tape for some of these applications. So I'm happy with that. We are going to take off the backing because now it can go on the card. Here's the base. And you know what I didn't give you guys? I don't think I gave you the measurements for those. So let's just do these quick. So the smaller one measures 2.5 by 4.5. And if I did these already, excuse me. The bigger one measures 3 by 5. After me saying I would definitely give you all the measurements, I just got going on my card. Because I got talking about Zoom. That's what we'll blame it on. Just lay it down. Okay. And then our little guy here, He is one of the small cut aparts on the 8x8 cut apart page. And he measures, after I trimmed him, he's just a little less than 2 inches by 2 5/8. So that would make his mat. So his mat is just a little bigger than 2, like 2 1/16 by 2 3/4. So let's layer him or glue him to his mat. And he's kind of a cute little Santa. Like I say, that's what I like about this paper. It's just so retro. And of course it says Merry Christmas. Now you could stamp some sentiments and add them to these cards. I decided with this set of cards I wasn't going to do that. Now this was popped up over here like this. I'm going to use my wider tape as I clear everything away. I'm going to put 1 piece or 4 pieces, 1 in each corner. Making sure I'm not missing anything important. I'll check on YouTube in a second. Thanks, Debbie. So glad you liked them. Like I say, I am a less is more kind of crafter. I tell people that right away. I like them simple. So this is kind of going over to the left-hand side, and I'm centering it top to bottom. And then you're saying, but you've got this little bow. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this other piece of seam binding under it like so. I'm tying it in a knot, or just in a single knot, not in a double knot. Something like that. I think I'm going to move it more this way, and it will slide a little bit. So you get it in the position you'd like it in. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy seam binding scissors, as I call these. Just cut my tails. I'm going to have to turn it this way. Something like that. And then we'll put that aside. And then we need some bling, of course, because that's what I've been doing on these cards. We'll keep them the same. I did use green on this one. But on this one, I think it's going to be, yeah. I'm just making these a tad cleaner looking. Put one here. And like I say, you can put art glitter glue behind these. I'm not. And one there. And the last one. Like so. I think I'm happy with them there. Yeah. Give it a good push down. And like so. And there's our last card done. So let's bring in the other 3. So there they are. And then the ones that started this, I won't have enough room probably, but we're going to try. Yep, that one goes there. This one goes here. And like you can see, you actually have a set of 8 cards now if you wanted to use the 4 different designs. Well, they're the same design, but different pattern paper. Just start playing with your pattern paper. That's all you need to do when you make cards, is just start playing with the pattern paper. Lay it out. If you don't like it, try a couple of other pieces of paper together. And what you will end up with is you will end up with designs that are yours and that you like. Go to Pinterest, look at the card sketches. There's a ton of them over there. And sometimes I change them. I'll go, well, I like that part of that card sketch, and I like that part of that card sketch, and I'll combine them into, you know, sort of my own sketch. So I did have a request today to show you how I make my bows with the bow maker. Let me bring the bow maker in, and I am going to pull out the seam binding, which is over here. So I order my seam binding by the roll because I go through a lot of seam binding, and it's good to have it on hand. I'm going to use some red. So this is the red Tammy sells in the store, and this is the green that Tammy sells in the store. And this is what I use. So literally, I am going to cut off a section. It is a fun collection, isn't it, Tiffany? I love this collection. I just cut off a piece of ribbon. I don't really measure it. I just don't. Let me put them all over here. So here's your bow maker, and I'm just going to wait. So I've got my pegs. I got them 3 apart. And all I'm going to do is I'm taking my seam binding and I'm wrapping it around the pegs. I'm overlapping it in the front. So now it looks like that. So I've overlapped it. So I've crossed my seam binding, pulling it around the ribbon and underneath. And then I just tie it in an easy peasy single knot. And then I just make my tails the way I want to make them. Cut off the excess like so. And there's your bow. If you want to do a triple bow or a double bow, so let's just take a little bit longer piece. This is probably way more than I need. So all you're going to do is, again, you're going to wrap it around your pegs. Actually, I'm going to start at one side. So I'm leaving about a 3-inch tail. I'm going to wrap it around again. So I'm going to make a 2 bow. I'm bringing it over the 2 wraps. Hopefully this is making sense. Bringing it under. So let me get it under, and then I'll lay it sideways. So you brought it under those bows. So you're like this now. And then I'm just got to take it and tie it. I always like to kind of scrunch my seam binding a little bit because I find it just makes a nicer bow. That's just what I like to do. You can make your bows. And then all I do is I fluff out my bows, something like so. Make my tails where I want them to be. Cut and cut. Remember, I'm doing these quick, so. And there's a double red bow. And the last thing, you can do a bow with 2 different colors if you want. So I'm getting some red and some green, about the same length. And I'm only going to make a single bow. So I've wrapped them. So I'm going from the back of the bow maker to the front of the bow maker. I overlap the one tail. So I'm overlapping the tail that is coming from the right side, from the right peg. I'm overlapping it around the front, because I call this the front of the bow. Pulling it back under. And then again, scrunching where I want to scrunch. And then, let's get this the way I want it. Get my fingers in there. And then tie it with a single bow. It's a little thicker when you do it like this, but I kind of like the effect you get sometimes. And then again, I'm just going to cut my tails. Cut my tails. And there's another bow. And then if you're not happy with how much you got that scrunched, just work your fingers. It's like flower making. Just keep working it until you get the bows the way you want it. And that's how easy it is to use the bow maker. That simple. So until I see you next time, which will be next Friday because we're going to make some tags. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody gets time to craft over the weekend. And we will see you next Friday for another installment of Fun Friday. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.